What's up, guys? I'm back. My voice is getting worse, but I really have to push this shit out. Like I contradicted myself. I ain't even gonna call myself lying, but I'm just reading, and this going to I'm going to Mark 8 and talk about some of the things he did and Jesus' process of becoming like this, so-called savior and doing those miracles. And I'm gonna skip around and just give you like the ideas of some of the important things he talked about. And just to kind of show you the thing I probably talk about the rest of this week, I'm probably gonna be breaking down the Bible all this week. Cause look, brother, there's some shit. Fuck, as if I get my voice back. But I'm gonna skip past him feeding the people with bread. But he ended up saying, I read this. He's like, if I send them all hungry, they will faint. For some of them have came long distances, and it's pretty much saying like, keeping people fed with knowledge and information. Like, don't give people something they gotta like. Don't give a person a fish, teach them how to fish type shit. Don't give information. Don't give them a type of thing where they have to come back to you. Go to where they can expand on it themselves. And that's why he was able to expand on the bread. Every time he broke a piece of the bread, he could expand that piece of bread, and then expand that piece of bread, then expand that bread. And that's how, he transmuted that shit to where it could work to everybody's benefit in a sense. And that's what, like, with this, you can look at it as spiritual and physical, because, they're not really talking about too much, physical things in the sense of, like, moving waves and things like that, or moving oceans, but it's still a spiritual and physical message you can pull. But when Pharisees heard that Jesus had arrived, they came to him, starting to argue with him, testing him, demanding that he show them a miraculous sign from heaven to prove his authority. And when he heard this, he deeply sighed in his spirit. Why do you people keep demanding a miraculous sign? I tell you the truth, I will not give this generation such a sign. And like, just from a standpoint, if we constantly telling you the truth and then you wanting a sign, like, bitch, that mean you think I'm a liar, and that mean you need more than the things that I'm trying to show you. Like, if he already fed this many people and did this for this many people, like, why do you think I need to keep showing you shit? Like, I'm clearly have some type of truth. If all these people can keep working with me and people keep coming to me, and that's what the perspective he was looking from it is. He got on his disciples, and you gotta look at his disciples as being lower versions of himself, because like the 12 zodiacs, and then Jesus would be the 13 zodiac, and then they the 12 disciples. And he knew a part of himself was going to betray him, or one of his friends. If you want to look at it as you can't trust your friends, but you can't trust your humanity and yourself. And you can look at him as talking to himself and his lower selves, or you can look at it as like looking at talking to descendants. I mean, not descendants, I'm sorry. You can look at it like that too, but you can look at it in the sense he's talking to his disciples or his friends or family members, however you want to look at it. But it's pretty much just talking about humanity versus somebody that's looking from the outside of humanity perspective. And he talk about all that. Let's see. When they left, it said, but the disciples had forgotten to bring any food. They had only one loaf bread with them to the boat. As they was crossing the lake, Jesus warned them, watch out to beware of the yeast of the Pharisees. And at this, they began to argue with each other because they had brought any bread. Just knew it. They were saying. So I'm reading to myself kind of, so I can just break it down or see if I want to break this down. Yeah, he pretty much get on their ass. He like, bro, after y'all see me feed 4,000 people, y'all really about to argue with each other over this one piece of bread after I showed y'all how to break bread down and share it, in a sense. Now y'all about to go to war over it, in a sense. And that's pretty much being humanity. Like, you want more bread because you feel like you're over hungry or whatever, but he already showed you how to use it. And then they go into healing the blind. And he would tell people, don't tell people that what I'm doing, because they're going to look at me as a miracle. They're going to look at me as a savior. And he already knew that. All right, then this is kind of where it gets interesting. Jesus and his disciples left. This is Mark 8:27. Jesus and his disciples left Galilee and went up to the villages near Philip, whatever. As they were walking along, he asked, who do people say I am, or say I am? And he said, well, they replied, some people John the Baptist. Wait, what the fuck? Well, they replied, some say John the Baptist, some say Elijah, and others say you are one of the other prophets. Then he asked them, but who do you say I am? Peter replied, you are the Messiah. But Jesus warned him not to tell anyone about him. And I guess, that's Peter realizing that Jesus had the juice in a sense. But he don't want people to understand that, because clearly people don't understand life in the sense of they too stuck in humanity and they want a savior instead of saving themselves. But we're going to get into it. Then this is where shit really, like, it compares to our life and what we're going through now. Mark 8:31. Jesus began to tell them, the Son of Man must suffer many terrible things and be rejected by the elders. Okay, let me read this slower. Must suffer many terrible things and be rejected by the elders, the leading priests, the teachers, and religious laws. And bro, that's period. Like I said, we still live out the same foundations from when Jesus was around, or the Christ energy, whenever you want to think this book was created, because at the end of the day, it's just somebody writing from some perspective of not being in the human mind state and looking from God's eyes. But pretty much like our elders want to always say that their generation was better, and even if it was, why you not teaching us how to be better? You always want to gloat and say how, it's just a part of like the separation and not always trying to grow. Then the leading priest, like I'm gonna get into tomorrow, like a high priestess was a big part of Jesus' execution. But you'll hear like white people wanting to call themselves high priestess, or lost people want to call themselves house priestess, and it just whitewashing labels. You don't even know how bad that label was at one point. And that's why I don't stick to labels, because it even say how priestess. Oh, I'm gonna get into it, bro. We just keep reading. And teachers and religious laws, he would be killed by 3 days later and rise from the dead. And he talked openly with his disciples. Peter took him aside and began to reprimand such things. And when they say he talked openly with his disciples, he meant openly about death. And Peter took him aside and reprimanded him, like in a sense, to stop talking about this. Jesus looked at him. I'm sorry, I'm reading and talking at the same time. Jesus turned around and looked at his disciples and then reprimanded Peter. Get away from me, Satan. He said, you are seeing things merely from a human point of view, not from God's. That's Mark 8:33. Jesus turned around and looked back at his disciples, then reprimanded Peter. Get away from me, Satan. He said, you are seeing the things merely from human point of view and not God's point. And he been getting on his disciples the whole time, because they've been in this human existence and not really understanding the things that he's been saying. And they've been walking with him this whole time. So same as your higher self or your lower self, how you constantly fighting yourself, even though you want this outcome. Or you know what I mean. Like people always have to constantly kind of battle themselves to get where they really want to go, in a sense, and they go to you with your friends and family. Like they're gonna always go against you, and like you can, like I said, you can always look at it as spiritual and physical. Like you can either look at it as yourself or the things that you gonna portray as out things. Fucking hate when I fuck up. You gonna either you can look at it as self, or the things that's in this world that's portrayed as self that affects you in a sense, but it's still self in a sense, but it's just perspective. But let me finish reading. Then calling the crowds to join the disciples, he said, if any of you want to be my followers, you must turn from your selfish ways to take up your cross and follow me. If you try to hang on to your life, you will lose it. But if you want to give up your life for my sake and the sake of the good news, you will save it. And what do you benefit if you gain the whole world but lose your whole soul? What? Oh my God, I love that. And what do you benefit if you gain the whole world but you lose your own soul? That is some shit, boy. If anything worth more than your soul, if anyone is ashamed of me and my message in these adulterous and sinful days, the Son of Man will be ashamed and of that person. The Son of Man will be ashamed of that person when he will return in his glory of his Father and his holy angels. And it just go to show you, like, people think from me talking about death, how they scared of death, and to Just talking about how this world is sinful and you could say adulterous and all these other different things. It's like this is this human existence, and people think that it's meant to be changed and all these different things, but it's not. Like, I get into it so much, but I don't really want to break down like too much more because I already said my throat hurt. But I'm trying to see if I can find anything else. But I'm definitely gonna get into some more shit. Let me see. I'm still reading, guys. Okay. And this, going back a little bit. Or that fog and rain. What the fuck? But, Mark 8:24. Then Jesus left Galilee and went to the north region of Tyre. I don't know. He didn't want anyone to know which house he was staying in, but he couldn't keep it a secret. Right away, a woman had heard about him and fell at his feet. Her little girl was possessed by an evil spirit. She begged him to cast out the demon from her daughter. And the reason why he don't want to really just be fucking with people because he know these people energy is not in the right place. They're looking for a savior, but they're not trying to save themselves. So, you know, that's just a part of it. But you know, people gonna still find a way to cross your path, even though you know they might not be good for you. Since she was a Gentile born inside Syrian, Phoenix, and I don't know. Jesus told her, first I should feed the children, my own family, the Jews. It isn't right to take food from the children and throw it to the dogs. I'm reading from the Bible. And you know in red, that's what Jesus said. This is Mark 8:27. Jesus told her, first I should feed my children, my own family, the Jews. And she's a Gentile. And I talk about that all the time. Like, Gentiles come from Sodom and Gomorrah. It's some white people. And then the whole Gentile and Jews and the whole, we still battling the same shit today. But, whatever. It's just crazy. People don't, I be saying shit, but then when I find it in the Bible, I'm like, bro, how do y'all don't read y'all shit. That's why. I get it now. I mean, I been get it, but I'll read it for y'all so y'all don't have no motherfucking option. Because I'm just naturally connected, but I'm about to start breaking people's foundations they think they stand on. Because ain't no more excuses. It isn't right to take food from the children and throw it to a dog. She replied, that's true, Lord, but even a dog under the table are allowed to eat scraps from the children's plate. He said, good answer. Mark 8:29, he said, now go home, for the demon has left your daughter. I mean, the reason why that is because she realized her place. I'm sure the demon was some human pride that she'd had. And, I mean, it was in her, so it affected through her daughter. And if you look at the fucking Hereditary, do I need to say more? The new movie that came out? Okay. About the lady attracting something of her parents. All right, Mark 8:20. Let me see. I'm just going to finish this off, and y'all just going to have to understand this. Mark 8:17. Then Jesus went into the house to get away from the crowd, and he went to the disciples and asked him what he meant by the parable that he just said. Don't you know? You know what? I'm sorry. I'm gonna start over because, like I said I was gonna do this shit tomorrow. We already in it. I'm about to finish this one though, and then I'm gonna be done for real. Hopefully, I'm out.